The morning sun rose steadily over the small town of Brookhaven, casting long golden shadows across its cobblestone streets. Nestled between rolling hills and winding rivers, the town looked like something out of a postcard. It was a place where families gathered at the farmers' market on weekends, where children raced their bicycles down the main road, and where neighbors exchanged pleasantries at the local diner. Yet, beneath its picturesque charm, Brookhaven carried the same unspoken tensions that simmered across much of the country. Ava Carter loved Brookhaven. It was her home, the town that had shaped her into the strong, determined woman she was today. Becoming the first Black woman to serve as mayor had been a dream realized. But it came with challenges that tested her every day. Ava had spent years building bridges between communities, reforming outdated policies, and advocating for inclusion and equity. Her work wasn't just a job, it was a mission. On this bright summer morning, Ava laced up her running shoes and prepared for her daily jog through the town she loved. It was a ritual she rarely skipped, no matter how packed her schedule was. Today, her mind was already racing with the details of an important meeting she had planned with local business owners to discuss revitalizing the town square. She had envisioned the square as a vibrant hub, accessible and welcoming to everyone, a reflection of the community's diversity. As she stepped out of her home, the crisp air greeted her, and she took a deep breath, savoring the moment before her day truly began. Her sneakers hit the pavement with a rhythmic beat as she set off, passing the familiar sights of Brookhaven. The smell of freshly baked bread wafted from the corner bakery, mingling with the soft rustling of leaves in the gentle breeze. Ava smiled to herself as she jogged past the small bookstore where she often spent quiet Sunday afternoons. Its window display filled with colorful covers that promised adventure and knowledge. The streets were starting to wake up. A couple walked their dog near the park, nodding a polite hello as Ava passed. A group of children laughed and chased each other near the fountain, their voices carrying over the gentle splash of water. Ava felt a deep sense of connection to these streets, to the people who lived here. Crossing an intersection, she checked her watch. There was still plenty of time before her meeting, and she let her thoughts drift to the presentation she had prepared. She felt good, confident that she could rally the business owners behind her vision. The air was fresh, the sun warm on her skin, and for a moment, it seemed like the day would go perfectly. Then came the sharp blare of a siren. Ava slowed her pace, her heart skipping a beat as she turned to see a police car pulling up behind her. The lights flashed insistently, their red and blue reflections bouncing off the shop windows. She pulled out her earbuds, confusion knitting her brows as the car came to a stop. "Hey, you! Stop right there!" a voice barked. Ava turned fully now, her breath catching in her throat. The officer stepped out of the vehicle, his hand resting near his holstered gun. It was Mark Reynolds, a young officer she recognized from town but had never spoken to directly. His stern expression gave no hint of friendliness, only an air of authority that felt uncomfortably heavy. "Is there a problem, Officer Reynolds?" Ava asked, keeping her voice steady despite the unease creeping in. "You crossed against the light back there," Reynolds said sharply. "I'm going to need to see some ID." Ava blinked, her confusion deepening. She knew she had crossed legally, the light had been green, and there hadn't been a car in sight. She frowned slightly, deciding to address the situation calmly. "I'm sorry, officer, but I believe I had the right of way," she said. "If there's been a misunderstanding, I'm happy to clarify. I'm on my way to a meeting. I don't care where you're going." Reynolds interrupted, his tone growing harsher. "Show me some ID. Now!" The tightness in Ava's chest spread to her stomach. This wasn't just about a traffic violation anymore. She could feel it in his tone, in the way he looked at her. It was a look she had encountered too many times before, one that carried assumptions and judgments that had nothing to do with who she was. "Officer, I'm Ava Carter," she said, her voice steady but firm. "I'm the mayor of Brookhaven. If you check, you'll see that I haven't done anything wrong." Reynolds' lips twisted into a sneer, and he took a step closer. "Mayor," he scoffed, "I don't care who you think you are. You're not above the law. Now show me some ID." or I'm taking you in for resisting an officer." Ava felt the world around her slow, the air thick with tension. She could see people beginning to gather nearby, their curiosity piqued by the scene unfolding before them. Murmurs floated through the crowd, some confused, others concerned. A man pulled out his phone, the small screen angled toward her and Reynolds. "Officer Reynolds," Ava said, her voice calm despite the storm brewing inside her. "I am not resisting. I am trying to explain. You think you're special?" Reynolds snapped, cutting her off. His voice was loud now, drawing the attention of everyone nearby. He pulled out his handcuffs, the metal glinting in the sunlight. "You're under arrest." Ava's heart sank as the cold weight of his words hit her. She felt the crowd's eyes on her, heard their whispers growing louder. Everything she had worked for, every effort she had made to unify and uplift this town, seemed to crumble in that moment. As Reynolds reached for her arm, a voice called out from the crowd, cutting through the noise. "Hold on a minute. That's the mayor." The voice belonged to Paul Henderson, the owner of the local grocery store. He stepped forward, his face flushed with anger and disbelief. The crowd began to stir, their murmurs turning into voices of protest. Reynolds hesitated, glancing between Paul and Ava, his grip on the cuffs loosening slightly. "Officer," Paul said, his voice firm, "you got it wrong. This is Mayor Carter. Everyone here knows her. What do you think you're doing?" Reynolds' expression flickered with uncertainty, but then it hardened again. The crowd's presence didn't seem to deter him as he grabbed Ava's wrist and snapped the cuffs into place. A collective gasp went through the onlookers, and Ava felt her face flush with humiliation. Her neighbors, her community, the people she had worked so hard for, were now witnesses to her being treated like a criminal. "You're making a mistake," she said quietly, looking Reynolds in the eye, but he didn't respond. Instead, he began leading her toward his car, the weight of the handcuffs biting into her wrists. The murmurs of the crowd swelled into an uneasy hum as Ava Carter, the mayor of Brookhaven, was led toward the waiting police car. Her wrists ached beneath the tight cuffs, but it wasn't the physical discomfort that stung the most. It was the humiliation. The faces of her neighbors, her community, filled her vision, their expressions a mix of disbelief, concern, and quiet outrage. Paul Henderson, the grocery store owner who had stepped forward to defend her, followed closely, his voice sharp with anger. "Officer Reynolds, this is outrageous. You know who she is? She's the mayor. For God's sake, what exactly do you think you're doing?" Reynolds didn't stop. His jaw was set, his grip firm as he led Ava toward the vehicle. She was resisting, he snapped, refusing to meet Paul's eyes. She refused to show ID when asked. "That's grounds for detainment." Paul scoffed, his disbelief evident. "Resisting? You call clarifying who she is resisting? You're making a fool of yourself." "Reynolds." The crowd began to stir more visibly. Several people had their phones out, recording the unfolding drama. Whispers turned into louder protests. "This is wrong. She didn't do anything. Let her go." Ava remained composed despite the turmoil swirling around her. She could feel the anger bubbling inside, but knew better than to let it show. Her father had always taught her that dignity and calm were the strongest responses to moments of injustice. "Officer Reynolds," she said, her voice steady despite the rising tension, "I urge you to reconsider. You're not just arresting a citizen. You're arresting the elected leader of this town. This isn't going to end the way you think it will." Reynolds stopped abruptly, spinning to face her. His hand still gripped her arm, his knuckles white with tension. "I don't care who you are," he hissed. "You're not above the law." Before Ava could respond, the distinct hum of an engine broke through the noise. A sleek black sedan pulled up to the edge of the square, its tires crunching softly against the cobblestones. The car came to a stop, and the door opened with deliberate precision. Out stepped Chief Thomas Harrington, the head of the Brookhaven Police Department. Harrington was an older man, his graying hair and measured stride exuding authority. His presence immediately silenced the crowd. The murmurs faded to a hush as he approached, his eyes scanning the scene before settling on Ava. her wrists bound in front of her. His jaw tightened. "Reynolds!" Harrington called out, his voice low, but carrying a weight that demanded attention. Reynolds turned, his grip on Ava faltering slightly. "Chief," he said, his tone tinged with uncertainty. Harrington's eyes narrowed. "What's going on here?" Reynolds hesitated, clearly aware of the scrutiny from both the crowd and his superior. She crossed against the light. "Chief," he said, though his voice lacked the confidence it carried earlier. "I asked for ID, and she refused. She was resisting." Harrington's gaze shifted to Ava, then to the crowd. He took a step closer, his expression unreadable. "You're telling me," he said slowly, his tone dripping with disbelief, "that you arrested the mayor of Brookhaven for crossing against the light?" Reynolds opened his mouth to respond, but Harrington didn't give him the chance. "Take the cuffs off," he ordered, his voice cutting through the stillness. "But Chief," Reynolds began. "I said take them off." Harrington snapped, his calm demeanor slipping just enough to reveal the anger simmering beneath. Reluctantly, Reynolds fumbled with the keys, unlocking the cuffs and stepping back. Ava rubbed her wrists, the marks left by the metal biting into her skin a stark reminder of the indignity she had just endured. "Mayor Carter," Harrington said, his voice softer now as he addressed her. "I apologize for this misunderstanding." Her expression calm but resolute. "This wasn't a misunderstanding, Chief Harrington," she said. "It was an abuse of power, and it's something that happens far too often." The crowd murmured in agreement. Paul stepped forward again, his frustration evident. "She's right, Chief. We all saw what happened here. Reynolds had no cause to stop her, let alone arrest her." Harrington turned to the gathered onlookers, his face grave. "I will personally review this incident," he said, his tone firm. "Brookhaven deserves better than what you just witnessed, and Mayor Carter deserves far better than what she just experienced." Ava nodded, appreciating his words, but she knew the fight wasn't over. As the crowd slowly began to disperse, she turned back to Harrington. "Chief," she said, "I expect a full report by the end of the week. This needs to be addressed, not just for me, but for everyone in this town." Harrington nodded solemnly. "You have my word, Mayor." Reynolds stood off to the side, his face pale and his posture stiff. He avoided Ava's gaze, but she felt no satisfaction in his discomfort. This wasn't about him. It was about the larger issue at hand. As Ava walked away from the scene, Paul caught up to her, his voice filled with concern. "Are you okay, Mayor?" She gave him a small smile, though her eyes betrayed her exhaustion. "I'll be fine, Paul," she said. "Thank you for speaking up." Paul nodded. "It was the least I could do. You've done so much for this town. You shouldn't have to face something like this." Ava placed a hand on his shoulder. "We all have to face it, Paul," she said quietly. "That's why we have to keep fighting, for everyone." As she returned to her office, Ava's resolve hardened. The day had taken a sharp, unexpected turn, but she wouldn't let it derail her mission. If anything, it only strengthened her determination to make Brookhaven a place where justice and equity truly mattered. The weight of the day lingered with Ava Carter as she sat at her desk, her wrists still marked by the cuffs. The humiliation she had endured wasn't just personal. It was emblematic of the struggles so many faced, often without recourse or witnesses to back them up. Brookhaven deserved better, and Ava was determined to turn this moment into a catalyst for change. Later that evening, Ava convened an emergency meeting with Chief Harrington and the town council. The room was tense, the earlier events of the day casting a long shadow over the proceedings. Harrington, seated across from Ava, looked visibly uncomfortable as the discussion began. "Chief Harrington, all started." Her voice calm but firm. "What happened today is not just a reflection of one officer's actions. It's a reflection of systemic issues that we've ignored for too long. Brookhaven is better than this, but we need to prove it." Harrington nodded slowly. "I agree, Mayor," he said. "Officer Reynolds' behavior was unacceptable. He'll face disciplinary action, but I know that's only part of what you're asking for." "You're right," Ava replied, This isn't just about Officer Reynolds. It's about ensuring this never happens again. We need structural change, mandatory de-escalation training, civilian oversight, and clear accountability measures for misconduct. The council members exchanged glances, some nodding in agreement, while others looked hesitant. Councilman Henry Walsh, a middle-aged man with a conservative bent, leaned forward. "Mayor Carter," he began, "I understand the urgency, but implementing reforms like these will take time. And frankly, there will be resistance from the union, from some members of the community." Ava interrupted him, her gaze steady. "Change always meets resistance." Councilman Walsh, "That doesn't mean it's not worth pursuing. What happened today was witnessed by dozens of people, recorded on their phones. The world is watching. And more importantly, this town is watching. We can't afford to let this moment pass without action." The room fell silent as her words sank in. Harrington broke the silence, his tone resolute. "I'll back the reforms," he said. "We can't rebuild trust without them. Brookhaven's police department needs to lead by example, not by force." Ava nodded, a small flicker of relief softening her expression. "Thank you, Chief," she said. "Let's make this the moment where Brookhaven turns a corner." The council voted unanimously to proceed with the reforms. It was a victory, but Ava knew it was just the beginning. The following week, the town square was alive with energy. A rally had been organized to show support for the reforms, and residents from all walks of life gathered to stand in solidarity with Ava and her vision for a more just Brookhaven. The square buzzed with the hum of conversations, the clinking of protest signs, and the occasional cheer as speakers addressed the crowd. Ava stood near the steps of the town hall, watching the scene unfold. She spotted Paul Henderson among the crowd, waving to her with a smile. Nearby, young activists held banners that read, "Justice for all," and "Accountability is key." When it was her turn to speak, Ava climbed the steps, her heart pounding as she faced the sea of faces before her. She took a deep breath, letting the moment settle. "Thank you all for being here today," she began, her voice steady but filled with emotion. "What happened to me last week was a moment of pain and humiliation, but it was also a wake-up call for me, for this town, and for all of us who believe in justice." The crowd erupted in applause, and Ava paused, allowing the moment to resonate. "This isn't just about me," she continued. "This is about every person in Brookhaven who has felt unseen, unheard, and disrespected. It's about creating a town where no one is judged by the color of their skin, their background, or their circumstances. A town where trust is restored and accountability is the norm, not the exception." The crowd roared in agreement, their cheers echoing through the square. Ava felt her resolve strengthen, knowing she wasn't alone in this fight. "I'm proud of what we've accomplished so far," she said. "But this is just the beginning. The reforms we've passed are a first step, and there's so much more work to be done. Together, we can make Brookhaven a place where equity and justice aren't just ideals, they're realities." As she stepped back, the crowd's cheers grew louder, a chorus of support that filled her with hope. Paul approached her afterward, his smile warm. "You're doing something incredible, Mayor," he said. Ava smiled back. "We're doing something incredible," she replied. In the weeks that followed, Brookhaven began its transformation. Officers underwent mandatory de-escalation training, and a civilian oversight committee was established to review complaints and ensure transparency. Harrington, true to his word, worked alongside Ava to implement the changes, though resistance from some corners of the department remained. For Ava, the work was far from over. But as she walked through the town square one morning, watching children play near the fountain and neighbors chat over coffee, she felt a sense of renewal. Brookhaven was changing, not just in policy, but in spirit. Chief Harrington joined her by the fountain, his expression thoughtful. "You've done something remarkable, Ava," he said. "You've reminded this town what it stands for." Ava looked at him, her smile soft but resolute. "This town reminded me too, Chief, and we're just getting started." As the sun rose higher over Brookhaven, its golden light seemed to symbolize a new chapter for the town, a chapter written not in tension and division, but in unity and progress. Ava knew the road ahead would be long, but with her community beside her, she was ready for the journey. The story of that day, of Ava's arrest and the changes that followed, became a part of Brookhaven's history, a testament to the power of resilience, justice, and the courage to stand up for what is right.